Hello and welcome. I am Laura Cragen, an intuitive eating and Christian life coach. I am so glad you're here. This podcast is for women who knows her health is a spiritual matter. If you're anything like me, you have probably heard the phrase mind, body, and spirit. But what does that mean? I am confident that I have found the details of those three God-given areas in our life. Specific mindset skills for our mind, intuitive eating for our body, and healing in Christ for our spirit. My hope is that as we discuss these life-changing lessons, we will be better able to fulfill our unique purpose in preparing for the second coming of Christ. I am so excited to have these wonderful conversations with you. Hello and welcome to the podcast. Glad you're here. And if you're new, thanks for giving me a listen. It has been a few weeks since I put up a podcast, but I've been out of town. I went to Capitol Reef National Park in southern Utah, and I went camping and swimming and hiking with my family, and it was just so fun. I'm going to do my best to put my podcast up every couple weeks here in the summer on Fridays, hopefully. So stay tuned for that. And today is an interesting topic, and it's surprisingly spiritual, contrary to what the title suggests. So expect some great info for your physical health in the intuitive eating realm as we dive into this second principle. We will be going over three main areas of interest when it comes to your hunger, and here they are. So, number one, learning a new scale. Number two, getting to know your body's sensations. And number three, we'll be learning about disruptors to knowing when you're hungry. Also, as well as your spiritual health with some wonderful discussion on gospel topics and some related personal stories I'm excited to share with you. So, sounds good? Let's jump in. But before we get started, I want to give you some context. You're in the right place if you're a busy LDS Christian woman, or you struggle with your body image and loving yourself. You've tried dozens of diets and they made you feel even worse. You don't know when you're hungry or not, or just bottom line, you just know something has to change. And we're here to figure that out. So let's start with hunger. So a normal and natural part of the human experience is hunger, right? A crucial biological cue that helps us stay alive. It is essential to life as breathing. I'm grateful when I get hungry. I know my body's working right. But it is seen as such a weakness this day of age, and it is applauded and praised when we fight it and exercise our willpower against it. Your body will at some point experience something called primal hunger, which is an urgent and intense desire to eat, especially when your regular hunger cues have gone unanswered for far too long. We all know that that this all eventually backfires when we diet. For example, think of when you are underwater and coming up for air. If you have been hungry for far too long, it will be like a huge gasp of air once you come up, since you were underneath too long, as opposed to a polite intake of breath. It is trying to compensate for your biology. Many of us know this is binge eating, and I know I've dealt with that as well. Let's say that you are busy all day or trying to lose weight, or both. A lot of us are doing both. Either way, you are trying to ignore your hunger cues or give yourself very little to eat. You even hit the gym in order to keep up with your goals, do more errands, or finally wrestle the kids down to bed. You are hangry, hungry and angry, as we have all heard before. Stressed and depleted as well. So you order a pizza and plan on eating just a couple of slices, but the intensity of your hunger takes over and you find that you have eaten the whole pizza. So honoring your hunger is absolutely key in healing your relationship with food and your body. So number one, as I was saying before, the 3 parts I will be going over to help us honor our hunger. Let's learn about this new scale. So many of us have had a negative relationship with the scale, right? So ladies, let me teach you about a new scale and you will ditch that old one. To really start listening to your inner body signals, get into the habit of asking yourself, am I hungry? And am I feeling full? Sounds very simple, right? But we really just don't do these simple things. So do that each time you go to eat or finish your meal. Take it a step further though, and this is the scale that I'm talking about, this new one. Use a scale from 0 to 10 on where you are. 0 being starving and 10 being Christmas dinner stuffed. Use the scale and your body signals as your best guide on when you should start and stop eating. And ideally, we want to be between that 3 and 7 range. Don't want to go lower than 3. 3 is that polite hunger where your body is telling you, I'm hungry. Getting down to 2 or 1 is when you are feeling very depleted and your own signals will show that to you, whether it's you have intense fatigue or headaches or whatever. But try not to go above the 7 or 8 where you're feeling politely full. But going beyond that will be so full that your stomach hurts and you feel sick. These aren't rules though. I just want to give you guidelines and you know yourself best on what the scale will be for you, and it takes some time. So I want to share my story with the scale, the old scale. I had a love-hate relationship with the scale. There was one spring where I was determined to lose 10 pounds. I was going to lose half a pound per week. So I started after Christmas, kind of the New Year time, and then by the early summer and late spring, I was going to be ready, and I've lost that 10 pounds. So for about 3 months, every Monday, I got up before my workout to go weigh myself in hopes that I kept my goal. I wrote it on a sticky note, made it my screensaver and on my phone, and put it on my calendar to make it to that dreaded weigh-in. I was intense and I had good intentions to try and keep a goal. There were some weeks where I was so happy and I lost more, and other times when I gained. It was hard because after a weekend of possible binging or eating for fun, I would gain the weight. I got to the end of May at the predetermined time where I was supposed to finally have lost all that weight, but only found that I had failed and I still needed 5 more pounds to go. I felt terrible and I stopped weighing myself for a long time, which is really the best thing for me. I'm happy to say that I have not weighed myself for a long time and never plan to do it again if I don't have to. It's just not going to be in my life anymore. This device doesn't need to be in our life. I would strongly recommend that you do the same and stop. From now on, just don't do it. Throw it out even. There's something about the numbers that messes with your psyche. I know it did for me. There's no need for the extra baggage in your life. So there are so many better things to focus on. And I definitely love talking about that here on this podcast. But right now we're in those throes of trying to figure it all out and get to that point. So number 2, let's talk about getting to know your body sensations. So we're going to talk about getting to know your body sensations, which is also known as interoceptive awareness. Interoceptive, where it's inside. And you're being aware of what is going on inside you when you start feeling hungry. It looks different for all people. So ask yourself, when you're hungry, what am I feeling and where am I feeling it? Do you feel it in your head, your mouth, your chest? Does your stomach grumble or feel tight? Do you feel lightheaded, low energy, or shaky? Some people even feel it in their eyes and it gets blurry. Everyone's different. Personally, I can't think straight and have trouble focusing. I start to even get shaky and lethargic when I let it go too long. But the first couple of signs for polite hunger is a gentle craving for food and just preoccupation with it, and a grumbling stomach. The body is so cool, and God created it to help you take care of it. I'm so grateful for it. This general practice of getting to know your body sensations will help you across the board, though it is pretty cool. As we've exercised it in one area, it helps in other areas of our life. So hear me out. It'll help you when you are starting to feel tired, when you are emotionally exhausted, and knowing when you are thirsty, which also with thirst, it just goes hand in hand with hunger. You may need some water as well as food. It all takes that conscientiousness, the effort, and time. It's so worth it. Tools like breathing and meditation, going on a walk, or other self-care practices will help you understand yourself even faster. That's why people love to use tools like that. And I love them too. We definitely will talk about them more. But let's go into our third part of hunger. Attunement disruptors / self-care. But this is a pretty cool thing I've learned, and with intuitive eating, I think it's just so interesting. I never registered this fact that there are attunement disruptors, which would be being in tune with yourself, but something is disrupting it. But we think about self-care a lot, but you have to get through this disruptor part. These are these blocks from having your proper self-care. They include distractions, thoughts, rules, beliefs, or just a general lack of the self-care. So let me give you a little neuroscience lesson here. This is a very important part that you should have memorized. I feel like everyone should have this memorized. I remember I did too when I went to my health coach school. This has been a big part of understanding my own biology, and it's really interesting to me. But you may already know it, so just have this be a refresher. But I'm going to kind of give you a new way to remember it. In order for me to remember, I had to do it this new way. So there are two parts of our nervous system. One or the other is governing your body at all times. They are the sympathetic nervous system, SNS, or the parasympathetic nervous system, PNS. Doctors often call the parasympathetic nervous system the rest and digest side, while the sympathetic is the fight or flight response. So rest and digest or fight and flight. We want to be in the parasympathetic nervous system more so that we are less stressed in life. That's what we're going for. But of course, we want to challenge our bodies sometimes to be stimulated in activities. But when we are mostly in the SNS state, it becomes problematic to our bodies. That is where the world is today. Mostly stressed, out of time, too busy. Mainly running on the sympathetic nervous system. When we finally get to the PNS, the parasympathetic nervous system, that is where our bodies can finally heal, recover, and gain back energy. I remember that I want to be in the parasympathetic nervous system. Like I was saying earlier, this is the one way to remember. I want to be in this parasympathetic nervous system. How do I remember that though? I remember that because my husband is a paramedic. He's a firefighter paramedic, and we like him. We like paramedics. They help us. Paramedic. So it helps me remember I want to be in the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest. So all in all, let's try and keep ourselves in that state more often, because it will be very easy to find ourselves in the other side with raising families, work, just living in this world. That's how it is right now, even when you just go out on the roads and drive. But when we are in those intense throes, like I was saying, fighting work, deadlines, or chasing toddlers, your body activates that sympathetic nervous system. There is no way for you to truly feel those subtle cues for your body's hunger. If you're always on 24/7 with notifications, to-do lists, or caregiving, these screaming babies, it affects your ability to hear your body calling to you. The main definition of self-care is the daily process of attending to your basic physical and emotional needs. That's it. There's so much talk about self-care, but it's so profound and simple and definitely can become over the top. It's not just bubble baths or massages. It is the little things like calling your doctor to make an appointment. Sometimes we just have a hard time dialing that number. We're so busy. Having a hard conversation to get something off your chest with someone. That's kind of a biggie. Or taking a quick nap. And actually, I took a quick nap today, just to be honest. I did not want to, and I realized I could just push through and get to some work and to-do list things, but I honored my body and I took a nap earlier today. I had that luxury today since my husband is at home and he had been working a long shift earlier this week, and it felt so good. I feel so much more refreshed. I'm going to be able to probably get through my day and these things much faster and better than I would have if I just pushed through and didn't pay attention to my body. So I'm trying to practice what I preach here. It's hard though. So let's talk about some more examples of attunement disruptors. Ask yourself yes or no to the following questions. Here we go. I often skip meals when I am pressed for time. Yes or no? I don't take time to reflect on the meaning of my life. I often multitask when I eat, watch TV, check emails, etc. I have a hard time saying no to people's requests. And lastly, I don't know how to relax. So if you answered yes to any of these questions, you have some disruptors that you need to get rid of in your life. Let's make it easy and simple and set a goal. Just a simple goal. I'm sure most everyone at some point each day eats while distracted. Try to make a goal to eat at least just one meal undistracted. Will you do that today? Or if you're listening to this late at night, will you do that tomorrow? Just one meal undistracted. Once you have accomplished that too, it's going to fuel you to conquer some more of these bigger disruptors, whether you at every meal eat without distractions or that you finally say no to that request that you just don't feel like you can accomplish, and it will set you over the edge. Or finally taking a long walk to reflect on the meaning of your life. We will take it just one step at a time. So with all these new tips, it's hard to remember them all, and I make it easy and have it written down in my free guide, 5 Steps to Start Intuitive Eating. So not only do I go over the honoring your hunger part, I reveal other best steps and ways that will propel you forward on your new journey of intuitive eating. So I will leave the link for you to get that sent straight away to you down below. Just click it there and it's yours. And it's going to be a huge step in propelling you forward on this journey. So I wanted to share with you also a story this week. As I was saying, the spiritual side of all this, I could not help but see how it was correlated to my life this week. I had a great experience taking the sacrament this past week. I felt really like Christ was going to help me this week. I really tried to think about him as I took it. And I don't always do that, to get distracted, especially with the kids. And we're so used to taking it, right? But it shouldn't be that way. But I especially wanted to involve him in my day-to-day life. And I felt that if I involved him day-to-day, he was going to be there for me and make up that difference. And that is why we take the sacrament every week. It really helped me see that it's a reminder, just a parameter to help us every 7 days remember and promise that we will just be a little bit better. I've already felt his help as I care for my busy little kiddos this week. It's been really interesting to me as I've been overwhelmed, or my husband's gone, or I've been trying to respond to my kids in a different way, and it feels different. I'm really grateful. I could feel this different power helping me. And even with just the nap I talked about later, actually honoring that. And it's been a much better week. It hasn't been easy, but I feel like my mind is clearer and I have more energy. And I rejoice in Him who has given me that strength. It all comes from Christ. So let's talk about what that experience was. And the phrase I have really come to understand more and more. So a good friend of mine, and she may be listening, we have been doing Marco Polo back and forth together and have both gone through some major challenges recently. She is a wonderful person. I love her, and she's a good friend of mine. And she has had an amazing insight that I have not been able to forget, that revolves around our hunger, I'd say. It is an eternal truth. It's the answer to the question, what will I always need in life? What will be constant in a changing world? And it is my constant reliance to God. My constant reliance to God. I will always need that. I will always hunger after Him. So I want to leave with this scripture. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. And Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will not hunger, and he who believes in me will never thirst. So I wanted to share that last part with you, just helping you understand what are ways that you can continue to have this constant reliance to God. It'll take some adjustments. It'll take some deep thinking, maybe, like I said, that long walk. But try and think about not only our own physical cues for our body and hunger, but what else am I hungering after with God in relation to Jesus Christ and His atonement that was specific to us. If it was just us He had to do it for, He would have done it. I truly believe that. So I hope you can take that time and do that, and maybe having it be a part of your sacrament experience this week as well. And also, like I said, that challenge of this next meal, this next day, try and just have one meal where you are undistracted. So you're doing great. Keep up this good work with learning through these principles. I'm still going to keep going through them. There are 10, and I'm looking forward to going through them. It's going to take probably this whole summer, but I am so excited. There's so much truth in there. But thank you for joining me today, and I hope you guys have a great summertime and enjoy the sun. Thank you for listening, and I hope today's show filled your soul and gave you the direction you were searching for in your health, life, and relationship with God. I would love to stay connected. Subscribe to my podcast so that you can be the first to know when new episodes go live. And it would mean so much to me if you would rate and review this podcast just down below. Your words inspire me and give me that boost to create more inspiring content to share. I would love to meet you on social media. Find me on Instagram and Facebook. Also, if this show really inspired you today, take a screenshot to share it on social media and tag me or click the share button to give it to someone else that would also benefit from these spirit-filled discussions. Let us all spread the good word of the gospel of Christ and help others in any way we can. Thank you again for listening today, and I look forward to connecting with you.